Hello, my name is Bill Capan. I'm here today to teach you the effective use of Hangouts in a teacher's life and in their classroom. This is being done as a special project for my Educational Technology and Design class and for the Saskatoon Public School Division. So, how can teachers use Hangouts effectively for the classroom? Well, there's a couple of reasons why teachers might want to use this for the classroom. First off, small group collaboration works excellent. It's much better than Skype, and you can use it along with Google Documents. Secondly, live presentations and discussions. Having speakers in several locations, for example, a speaker across the city being in 5 or 6 schools, works perfectly, and you can have background chat at the same time. Broadcasting via YouTube is a third reason. You can actually broadcast this out via YouTube and save it on YouTube so that family members in distant locations might be able to see something, for example, like a sporting event, a play, or an assembly, and you can broadcast this for everybody. Now, before you start using Google Hangouts, there's a couple things you should know. All participants must have a valid Gmail account. So once you have a Gmail account, it'll actually enable all the tools you see across the top here. Your Gmail account gets you into YouTube, gives you a free Google Drive, gets you into Gmail, and gives you so much more. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that everybody using the Hangout has a valid Gmail. It's free, there's no cost. So students can get a Gmail as well, and this will allow them to participate in the Hangout. Also, you want to make sure you know you've installed the drivers ahead of time. When we first go into Hangouts, it'll ask you to install video and audio drivers. If you're on a networked machine, like for example in a school division or a large school, you'll want to make sure that you get the network administrator to give you the rights to install both the video and audio drivers, or have them install them for you so the first time you go in, they're already there. So make sure you've done that. Your YouTube account. Once we get in, it'll ask about having a verified YouTube account. No worry, it's just that YouTube wants to make sure you're who you actually say you are. So when you go to use your YouTube account, a verified account simply means you give in your real cell phone number and it'll text you an unlock code, and you can actually unlock the recording features as well as the live streamcasting features. And the reason they want to do this is to make sure they don't have malicious people on YouTube. I would also suggest that you have Google Chrome as your browser. It's not necessary. Internet Explorer works, but Google Chrome can be downloaded to a flash drive and works the best with all these Google devices. So Google Chrome is meant to work together with all these Google tools that we're going to be used. A good broadband hookup is always a good thing if you can actually be corded in, not be wireless, but actually on a cord. Like for example, if you can actually be on a machine that's hooked to the Ethernet, you'll have a good broadband hookup. It'll facilitate the meeting. This is a much better system than Skype. The servers seem to be faster. There's not as much lag time, but with 10 people on the line, it can get a little bit hard on things like Wi-Fi networks. If students are working off the same hub, for example, in one classroom, if you have 4 or 5 students, you're going to find the pictures start to slow down. So you might want to consider turning off some of the cameras. So we'll talk about that a little later on. So let's take a quick look at how to sign up for a Gmail account if you don't have one. So first off, getting a Gmail account is extremely simple. Go to google.com or google.ca and simply click the sign in. This allows you to make your own unique sign-in name and your own unique password, so nobody can get at any of the tools except for you. If your name has been used, it'll tell you, because there's literally millions of users on Google. So if your username has to be slightly tweaked, it'll give you the rules and tell you how to change your name or give you some alternatives. Once you're ready to go, if you're not ready to go, you can just go to sign up. It has quick little dialog boxes to make sure that you're not some kind of a robot that's from a different email provider trying to go through this. Make sure you're a real person, and allows you to sign in. You can actually have several of these accounts. So if you're a teacher, you can actually have several accounts. And that way you can have one account for working with your students and one account for working with professionals and one account for personal if you choose. Once you've got your account, nice part about Chrome is it saves these right in the browser. You can just go sign in, and you never have to sign in again if you're using Chrome. All the tools are listed across the top here. The one that we're interested in, while there's many good ones here like Gmail and the Drive, the one we're interested in actually is the Plus account. Once you click on the plus account, we actually are into something that looks very similar to Facebook. This is called Google Plus, and this is where we're actually going to find the Hangout tools. So you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner, just under your name, there's Start a Hangout, and in the lower left-hand corner, there's also another box that says Hangout. If this is your very first time moderating or starting and participating in a Hangout, you'll notice when you click on Start a Hangout that you'll be asked to install the video and audio drivers that I warned you about before. They're not malicious, there's not a problem, just click on Hangouts and away we go. So let's start a Hangout. So now once you start the Hangout, you actually get a video screen. That's me at the bottom, hi. And basically what we've got now is a browser that you can name the Hangout. Now only the moderator will see this. That's the first person into the Hangout. And if they've got that valid YouTube account, they can save it. So let's just call this Demo for demonstration. And so we've typed in Demo there to actually name our Hangout. And then we can actually invite friends in. Now you can either type these directly in if you know the email addresses, or actually if you've got an Android phone like this one, or you've got Gmail with a whole bunch of different addresses in it, it'll actually pull those up for you if you want. Or you can actually type in somebody else's. So the Gmail account is what you actually need to get into this to make sure that you can actually have a Hangout. Now what's interesting is back here, if I take a look back at the Google Plus, besides setting your profile very similar to Facebook and things like that, you can put in a different picture or a name. It also allows you to do something called circles. And circles are interesting because you can actually create circles and drag your friends into the circles. So once you create these circles and drag your friends into the circles, they become groups, for example, like your family or co-workers, or for example, if you're a science teacher and you're on a curriculum committee, you might have science curriculum committee. So these groups, you know, if you've got an assigned meeting time, it's just one click and you get everybody in. If you notice I put my cursor, it's got a whole variety of people there. There's 4 people. Last night I had a working meeting with these people and I just clicked on the button and it'll actually invite all of them into the Hangout. Okay, you can close this just by clicking the X. If they're actually in your Google Plus account, you can just double click on their picture. So for example, if I wanted Leslie to come, I could just double click on his picture, it would come up. Okay, so that's how I can ask somebody into or start the Hangout with somebody. If you want to stream this to YouTube or save it to YouTube, you'll notice there's a button here to enable Hangouts on air. This will allow anybody in the world to see it via YouTube if it's actually streamed. Really good for those sporting events or for things like the drama productions. On the other hand, you might want to just save it to look at later. So if you're doing a play or something, you can actually save it and just review what's going on. Lastly, with the Hangout options, just ask minors to stay out, but the thing is you can never be guaranteed somebody on Google is a minor. This is the main interface. When somebody joins your Hangout, this is what they see. This is the actual Hangout. In the upper right, there's a sound meter, so you can see my voice is being picked up by the sound meter. There's a mute button. There's a camera off. If you turn the camera off, it'll pick up your icon from Google Plus that you used basically in your profile, and that's the picture you're going to be. So you can see I can click it there on the screen by just clicking on it. You'll also notice my name appears below. That way, if people have put a document there or something else, you just basically put your cursor over and you see who it's from. The next one is basically the bandwidth use. If you're on Wi-Fi, you might want to reduce this. It just means that the picture will be a little bit more stilted and the audio won't be quite as good. And this is because, you know, you've got limited access to bandwidth. If you've got good bandwidth, you don't have to worry about that at all. For example, if you're on the Ethernet in a school, typically you won't have to worry unless there's a lot of users. In settings, you'll notice that I can change the cameras or the speakers. Sometimes this comes in really handy if you want, for example, the microphone up in the camera to pick this up, or if you want the microphone from something like a headset. Headsets are a really good idea if you're going to collaborate. Reason why is with laptops and tablets or things like the iPad, you get what we call a doubling effect or an echo, where a speaker speaks, it goes through your speakers, is picked up by the microphone, and you get a feedback loop. So you might want to use headsets. Headsets prevent that because only you hear what's coming out of the speakers and it's not picked up by your microphone. So a headset's a good idea. Phones have a built-in device that cuts that out, so it's not a problem with phones, just with the computers. You can also change this so that it might be picking up from the mic of your main guest speaker at the front, but the actual speakers might be broadcasting out to the students. So you can choose a different set of speakers. Okay, lastly is the hang up. You can either get out of the Hangout by clicking this button or just closing the window. Closing the window will do the exact same thing. It'll exit you from this particular Hangout, which is called Demo. Now down here we can invite additional people if we want, or if you don't want to do that, you can also chat. You'll notice that it gives us a back channel on the right side here where you can chat. Basically, you can put anything you want in there. It'll identify who the speaker is with their icon, and it'll say whatever the message was. This is really handy for guest speakers. For example, if you have a guest speaker across the school division or the city that's presenting and you want to present to your class, you can project this image up on the screen, and if the kids have any questions, they can literally type them in without actually interrupting the presentation. So that way the guest speaker can see the questions, maybe projected in his school, and he can actually answer the questions when he gets a nice time to pause. The screen share feature is also an excellent feature. The screen share feature allows you, for example, to put a PowerPoint up or to put some application up. This screen share feature will then be shown instead of your picture. So right now I clicked on to It's Seeing Gmail, and even if I go through, my Google Plus, and even if I scroll my Google Plus, you'll notice it scrolls for the participants. They actually saw the exact same thing that I did. You can show PowerPoints from a speaker this way, and by clicking and unclicking, toggling that on and off, you can actually go between his picture and the presentation. So you can jump back and forth, and this again, this window is what will be actually recorded in YouTube. So later on when you go back and you want to view it, you'll actually see this recorded. So that works really well. There's a couple others in here. There's Google Effects, which is sort of cool. Google Effects is meant more for socializing. You can put on hats and sound effects. What is interesting about that is those effects actually move with you. Google tracks your eyes, and for example, I can give myself some hair, and I can move around, and you can see. You can do things like do sound effects, give glasses, things like that. There's a little remove effects at the bottom. You just click remove effects, it's gone. You can close this toolbar. There's the Hangout toolbox. The Hangout toolbox is a little bit more useful because in the Hangout toolbox we have several things we can have. This first one here is to create nameplates below the name. So if you're having a Hangout with people you don't know, or you might want something that's saved because there's 4 speakers, for example, that you're interviewing, what you might want to do is turn on some nameplates, and each speaker can turn on a nameplate. Now you'll notice your own looks mirrored, so you'd actually, this is how everybody else would see it. So this actually gives the name of the speakers, so when you click to them, the YouTube actually saves the name. So it's a very useful way in YouTube to save who's speaking exactly. We can tell who's speaking just by moving our cursor over top, but the viewer in YouTube can't. So for YouTube, for projecting that over the internet for live streaming, that's an excellent tool. There's a little bit of volume control for the microphone. You can make it more or less. There's some funny faces similar to the hats that you can put on. There's some sound effects like clapping and things like that. You can also have a comment tracker where you can actually track comments from the streaming source or the different sources, which is sort of cool. And that pretty well summarizes all the Hangouts. We'll just click that again to make it disappear. The Google Drive is the last tool here. Now they're not always ordered this way. The Google Drive is probably the most important. For small group collaboration, this is excellent. The reason it's so excellent is basically I can pick something that I'm sharing. So let's say I pick a shared document like this one. And a shared document in Google allows us to basically take a look, and anybody else can edit at the same time in real time. So if all the people that we have here across the bottom works really efficiently in groups of 2 to 4. So if there's 2 to 4 people, we can actually work on a document together while we talk, while we watch each other, and we can actually edit the document in the main window. So this actually allows other people and myself to edit at the same time. I've used it very effectively in small groups of less than 4. If you get to more than 4, it gets pretty confusing with everything changing around. Everybody's cursors will be a different color, and the other people's cursors will have their name above them, so you can tell who's actually making the edits. Okay, so it can get a little confusing. However, this is a great way you can collaborate over big distances. With the team that I collaborated with the other night, we had one member in Calgary, a member in Regina, some members in Saskatoon, and a member from northern Saskatchewan. So you can actually collaborate over vast distances in real time. Pretty amazing 21st century learning tool. So that basically covers all the tools. So we'll just go back to my picture here. You can also invite people with their cell phones. So what's really cool about inviting additional people with their cell phones is that when you get additional people with their cell phones, this allows you to have multiple cameras so they can turn off their volume. You can be the moderator and have the main volume, or go to a microphone that's on the floor. You can have, let's say, for example, people at the 4 corners of a basketball court. They could actually be videotaping it, and you as the moderator could be clicking from screen to screen, broadcasting that live in YouTube so the parents could see the action. You could make sure the camera was in the right place of the action. And if you wanted to review it later, it'd be live for streaming later on. So it's pretty amazing the things you can do. YouTube will allow you to make videos over 15 minutes. So if you're a verified member, you can make longer videos. So it's amazing what we're doing with YouTube now. So in summary, this is an excellent collaborative tool for 21st century learners. You can broadcast, you can save to YouTube, you can collaborate in real time with Google Documents. I hope this makes your classes more efficient. I hope you and your students can use this in meetings and collaborating times as an efficient tool, and thank you very much for watching me. Best of luck using Google Hangouts.